minutes and you
Okay.
can,
And we are live, so. Want to call it over?
I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is a Solid Waste and Recycling Committee, Tuesday, October 3rd. And when we take, I'll wait till you take roll and then say,
Correct.
okay?
So Mayor Wilson is absent. Mayor Pro Tem Mersch?
Here.
Okay.
So given that Mayor Wilson isn't here yet, I think he will be probably showing up. He's probably caught up in traffic. But since we don't really have a quorum, we're going to go ahead and discuss the items since you were nice enough to come and we don't want to waste your time. There's some items that we can discuss and just not take any action on, so the time isn't wasted if that's all right with you. So we won't be voting on anything. So does that mean we have to hold the
Skip consent.
So we'll skip the consent, and we'll skip the meeting minutes from the last. No old business. That brings us to item 6, new business. Discussion regarding Republic Services field operation issues and expansion of mother truck staging site locations. I have to be very careful when I've been practicing, I have to be very careful when I talk about the mother truck.
One letter goes wrong. Right?
Yeah, I know. Okay, so I'm just going to start off with, we had a terrible couple of weeks during that. And I appreciate what Republic did to try and remediate. I know you worked on a Wednesday, which is, you're not normally here on Wednesdays. I saw the trucks here later than normal, so I appreciate what you were trying to do. But for the purposes of the meeting, I mean, we had people who didn't get service for 3, 4 days, not days, but cycles.
Yes.
And it started just before the Labor Day weekend. And Christian probably has a better idea of how long it went, but it was a good couple of weeks where we were getting bombarded with it. And so I just wonder, from your perspective, if you could share with us, I know I'd heard that they had staffing problems, a truck broke down, whatever. If you could just kind of bring us up to speed on that.
Yeah, and I'm glad that the team was able to kind of talk to you guys post-mortem to make sure we have a good understanding there. But it quite frankly just came down to that. It wasn't just through your guys' contract. There was throughout all Republic Services, more so in the LA market. We did go in kind of a little bit of a staffing crisis for, oddly enough, for 2 weeks. We had a high amount of call-outs. We had a high amount of injured. We call them light duty into folks, but essentially they're individuals that should be running routes. They're rather drivers that either got injured on route and are waiting doctor's appointment. The standard number which we typically would see would be like around 5 to 7. We had, I want to say 17 or 18 individuals down currently, right? When you take the California standard of individuals on, LOA, leave of absence too as well, that did affect it. Best example to kind of give you, that list is down to 9 now, and we had 3 extra drivers kind of floating around today, right? So at the time, it was kind of a perfect storm. I had an opportunity to talk to you guys and a couple of other cities that went through that struggle. Obviously, on our side, one thing we're trying to do better is making sure that we're overly staffed, just in case situations like that do come up. Holiday weeks typically are a bane for us when it comes to services. Things run a little bit slimmer. But we saw that, across the board, everybody was affected. I think going forward, we have better game plans and making sure we're prioritizing our teams and making sure things are getting done. I think the option 2 of temporary personnel was an option thrown out by our team, in which we've recently just got away from due to the kind of constraints that we've had with our union contract of not hiring extra temporary personnel. I did kind of talk to our union folks that if we do run into a situation like that, especially during holidays, that we are allowed to overly hire those temp folks to making sure that we get rid of them after we get back to normal state.
Okay, and I appreciate that, that you're managing to the issue, and I understand, and Christian, I believe that we were told that they're doing some more training?
Yes.
And that you've got backups? Because I know it's very specialized here. You can't just bring anybody from another city here. They may not have a license to drive the scooter. I mean, I understand, or be able to find their way around the city. I understand all those things, but.
So there's two things we actually are doing. One is, first and foremost, kind of what Miguel was kind of talking about, is making sure individuals are properly equipped if they need to be grabbed off other routes or kind of spread the hurt a little bit less across the board, that there are individuals that are properly trained for that. The second thing in which we're doing too is called RISE. It's a tablet system that we're rolling out to our vehicles, that every single time an individual hops into an area that he's not necessarily familiar with, he's going to have a mapping system right there in front of him that's going to help him get to point A to point B for his customers.
Well, hopefully we'll have cell service here so that he can.
I am definitely afraid of that. Not,
Yeah,
I'll be
yeah,
honest.
yeah,
I was
yeah.
on a Teams meeting
Sure,
on the way up
sure,
here,
sure.
and there was no service whatsoever. The only caveat I will give off that is that the RISE system, what it does, it doesn't triangulate itself to just T-Mobile or an AT&T. What it does is we have service of all those providers, and it will ping to whoever has the best service in that area. So say if they're in the top left and it's a T-Mobile area, in the bottom right and it's a Sprint area, or whoever it is now, it's going to go to them instead.
Oh, that's good, but we
I am very worried
do
about this.
understand that. And I know our big problems, since we're just going to be talking about service right now for the first part of this. And you know I love our trash service. They call me the trash princess or queen, depending upon who is referring to me. And in the contract, it requires that you put the tarp or the netting over the bed of the scouts.
Yep.
Okay. I can understand not doing that when you're going from house to house to house to house. But when you're driving to the mother truck,
Ooh, okay.
nobody does it.
Yeah.
And trash is flying out everywhere. And they're also, because they're trying to work so fast and do anything, they're probably filling the beds. I'm not trying to tell you how to run your job, but they're putting too much stuff in the thing too. And so we've got a real problem. I run every morning and pick up trash. Now, it's not all from Republic Services. I've seen people that live here dump trash out on the road, and contractors that do that. It's not all yours, but I've also been behind the trucks and seen it fall out. So we really need to tighten that up. And I would say I can understand from house to house, don't quote me on that, but going to the mother truck, they need to do that and not make it so full.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's see. On Crest Road West, across from the fire station, near the corner of Quail Ridge North, occasionally, and I understand why they're doing it, the mother truck will stop and load and wait for the scouts it's a 2-lane street. They'll stop in the westbound lane, blocking the entire lane, and I've watched them be there for 15 minutes until I couldn't stand it anymore and I left. But people then that are going westbound are swinging out into the eastbound,
Yep.
and they can't see around that truck.
Okay.
And the eastbound people are coming. That's the busiest street that and Portuguese Bend are the two busiest streets that we have in the city.
And it's a little bit of a kind of like a blind corner, and he's taking one lane essentially.
Actually, it isn't a blind corner. He's parked right in the middle. It's one of the few straight streets that we have. But he could turn around, he could pull off onto Quail Ridge or something like that. I don't know what the answer is. I can see why he's doing it, because he's trying to get closer so that the scouts aren't running all over town. And it doesn't happen all the time. And once I thought it was the manure pickup,
Okay.
but it's not the manure pickup truck, it's the regular, I think. But you might want to check. It might be the manure truck, but I think it's the regular. But it's just it's a terrible terrible situation. It couldn't be worse.
What days does that happen on? If you don't mind me asking.
I can't tell you for sure because I run up there all the time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'll try and note in the future which route it is, whether it's the Monday, Thursday, or
Regardless, we'll make sure
Tuesday.
we address it across the
Yeah,
board.
just tell all the guys, that's not a good that is not an acceptable place to park. It couldn't be worse. Let's see, mother truck. I have a question. You give us a report, that's it looks like this. Does this
Tonnage
look
report?
familiar? Yeah, the tonnage report. So on the non-franchise page, they talk about recycle, trash, and organics. What kind of trash is non-franchise? Is that like construction?
It can be C&D, or it can be any customers using temporary containers, small ones, any service that's not covered under your particular agreement. So anything not under this agreement, like C&D roll-offs or small temp bins or the manure bins.
Wouldn't manure be under organics?
Manure is no.
No?
It's in the green, it's kind of under the green waste part, but it's not considered organics.
Okay, because this doesn't have green waste on it. It's got, sometimes it does. Sometimes it
and
has green
You'll see
waste.
at the bottom,
Yeah,
C&D call out.
I see some months it has green waste. I was actually told when we had horses, when I used to cough every time it cost so much, I was actually told that manure goes someplace completely different, to a total different facility. Is that still true?
I'm not
I
sure.
would not
where
know
the
that
manure
I would not
goes.
know that for this market, actually.
I'm just
I'm trying to
curious.
think about similar markets. I don't think we would divert that material. Would we?
I don't think it's going in the green waste. That's, since it's outside of the agreement, I don't
Yeah.
normally pay.
Yes, it's a different, I mean, it's not it's not the regular trash haulers that pick it up. It
Yeah.
comes on a different day, and it's different trucks. But the only reason I ask is when I have reports like this, if I can't figure out what's comprising the components of it, it's difficult for me. So when I ask
I can find that out.
staff, good, I appreciate that. Let's see, where is manure, people missing more than, okay. On this, I'm gonna save that for another meeting. Go from that. Christian, anything, or John, anything that, from a staff perspective regarding the service issues? You know that they know that you're meeting having weekly calls?
Yes, I mean,
Now?
well, so I'll just, did you guys look at the agenda packet, or, because if not, I'll just read some things off of it to you.
That'd be
Which,
great.
which,
I didn't see
yeah.
the
which,
agenda
which we
packet.
are communicating now with Miguel, and,
Yes, okay.
and I will just say he's been far more responsive just in the few days he's been here compared to Felipe, but which may make sense if Felipe was spread out across multiple jurisdictions. But I'll just bring up some things that were also, these have been complaints coming into staff on a daily basis. Even today, I think we've already taken 4 or 5 calls from residents. That's been pretty much par for course since late May, I want to say. But at our September 11th city council meeting, we had a variety of people in the audience. Not everybody spoke, but some people spoke on behalf of the people that had showed up. And so they outlined ongoing and repetitive issues that had been reported to staff or council members, and in turn forwarded to your staff. Some other concerns were expressed about newer Republic Services employees, including a negative turn in their customer service, willingness to take all the trash, and providing incorrect information to residents. Other residents offered praise for some longtime older employees regarding their kindness and work ethic. One resident opined that the current routes and staging locations appeared to be extremely inefficient and offered to have their family business route logistics consultant meet with Republic Services to potentially help re-examine their existing routes and staging procedures. The City Council decided to have this committee meeting to have a more robust discussion around these issues. And so what I would say is the Mayor Pro Tem has already brought up issues with the smaller trucks, the scooters. Miguel did meet with Artie from the RHCA just Monday morning, actually, to discuss trash that was falling out all over going up Portuguese Bend Road. So I have a feeling Miguel is addressing that one in the immediate sense. One thing I talked to Felipe about, and then I also provided the same information to Miguel, was the approved staging locations that we have in the city. So far, you have, at least in the time I've been here, you've only been using 2 locations. So it's the Portuguese Bend Road South area and then George F. And so some of the internal conversations we've had and we would like to explore are how do we rotate or use multiple staging locations in a given day for a shorter period of time. Because if you consider it right now, all the roads on the north side of Crest Road
It makes sense to trace
are
through
having to
tractor
drive
flow,
like
yeah,
2 miles to make their dumps and then come all the way back down. And so I think that lends itself to the inefficiency comments
Yeah.
made. And I know staff and even the Queen, would be interested in trying to help, look at that list that has already been approved previously in 2010 and or try to find some other safe locations to help you guys get your work done in a way that is not necessarily affecting 1 or 2 roads 4 days a week, for the vast majority of the day.
And so is that even possible? Is that?
I think that would be awesome, quite frankly, right? I think what the drivers are doing is they're relegating themselves to, a coffin cake, so to speak, right? In areas that they have to operate in. But if we open up different opportunities where they can utilize that staging area for the mothership,
Well,
I
we
am
have
interested to see why they're driving to the other side of the map on
Yeah,
certain
I'm not,
phrases.
historically, I'm not sure. The Mayor Pro Tem could maybe.
Well, and I have some thoughts on that. And before we go on to the restaging of the mother truck, I'd kind of like to wrap up.
Okay.
That'd be the second part of the meeting.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And just,
We're not there
if
yet.
that's
Got it.
okay,
Okay.
just wrap up the service issues as
Okay.
far as, the trash, the actual pickups of the trash. And I had mentioned earlier, I would like to reinstate the ride-alongs. And I would say like maybe once every quarter, if that's okay. And who would I contact to arrange that? And again, it wouldn't have to be me, just somebody from council, somebody from staff, whatever. I think it's a good thing. And who would we
You could put that in the
contact
new
to set
city
that up?
manager's job description.
Huh, yes.
I'm just saying, you shouldn't have to do it, but you love doing it.
Well, some of the council members might like doing it, some might not, some they may not have the time. I understand I have a more flexible schedule, but I shouldn't be the only one. I think an eyes on the ground from our staff perspective, and maybe every 3 months would be too often. When things are humming fine, maybe you go every 6 months, but
No, feel free. At whatever pace you guys or gals want to come out and ride for our drivers, please feel free. Reach out to Dawn.
Okay.
I'll leave that in Dawn's stead to coordinate that with one of Miguel's, or with Miguel to coordinate that with a driver. I know there's a fair amount of touch points, but I'd like for our meeting manager to be the one that kind of understands how often we're doing these. I love the idea. I really do. So whenever you want to start, whenever you want to hop out there, or whoever you want to send out there, feel free to notify us, and we'll get that scheduled right away.
great, I appreciate that. David, on the actual service pickup issues,
Yeah, just,
any other
And I
thoughts?
think you do, we put in the council agendas in the monthly reports you send, the list of complaints. They asked us to expand that.
What council ultimately decided the other night was that they would make a decision later to expand that to the stat. We have started, you guys get complaints and you submit those to us in a monthly log. I don't think those are inclusive of the calls that come into City Hall. I think they're probably calls that go to your 1-800 number or maybe.
Yeah, that's what it was. So they're separate, so we would supply ours in addition to yours.
If the council so
Right, okay.
directs us.
Got it, okay.
Now, if you don't mind me asking, was there, obviously, I think you said that this happened during that Labor Day week, so it was been the 11th you guys had that meeting?
The 11th was when the city council had their meeting, but this, as I said, this has been an ongoing issue since May.
Okay.
That just seems to have exacerbated over time. So we've had a couple community meetings leading up to that September 11th meeting where people have been vocally expressing their frustration, and hence, why they're calling into City Hall. And they've been doing that to the mayor pro tem and other council members as well. So those individuals attended the city council meeting on September 11th.
And the issue was still happening after the September 11th. So that's why I said I think it was a couple of weeks. So it was the start of the week before. Oftentimes you have the I'm sick the Friday before the holiday weekend syndrome. We used to have that where I worked.
Yeah, I want to say actually the 2 days where we had entire routes go without service
Yep.
was the 11th and the 12th, actually.
Okay.
So
And then, yeah, okay, so, on that, so that's gonna I think I saw Pat's truck just come in. But, so that, are we good now with service? Everything's gonna be
So-
wonderful from now on and?
So you have.
Other than
on this-
other than the 5 calls a day that you're getting here instead of them going where they should go, that still seems like a lot of complaints to me. But I don't know, we've got, almost 700 houses, but that's, I don't know.
Now, is there like a reoccurring trend on what the complaints are? When I mean reoccurring, right, does it mean there's the same issue being brought up, or is it the same people that are bringing up these issues?
I'll even print out our complaint list
That'd-
for you.
yeah, sure.
And it's not complete because some of us have to add in some of our more recent ones. But complaints can vary from my trash hasn't been picked up. My trash hasn't been picked up in multiple days or, a couple weeks. They're skipping over me. Trash on the ground, as we discussed.
Yep.
We did have some earlier complaints about even in one area, one of the mother truck driver separating out recyclables and putting them on the side of the road for him to collect later.
Yeah, that was what I was sitting here jumping about. I meant to bring that up in
That was
the
a really-
service
That was a
issue.
really interesting one.
Yeah.
The roadway, because George F. specifically, the roadway getting dirty, because what ends up happening is that the scooter trucks, and I'm not sure, how it happens, but as they're loading into the mother truck, trash tends to go everywhere. So then your teams have to sweep the road, clear the road, but then it leaves residue in the road. So we did have Adrian schedule a power washing a couple months ago, I want to say.
Okay.
Which is something that may need to be done regularly, depending, your local people should be at least observing, hey, is this an issue? I'm trying to think what else. As I mentioned in the staff report, the levels of customer service with some of the newer employees creates a level, I think people have been used to, you had a lot of long-term employees that people loved and trusted, and now I think there's some newer people that are trying to tell residents that, no, we don't take all the trash. No, we won't, it's too heavy. And I think you have a 60-pound limit for a can. But, in one case, the resident has told me, I've weighed all these. These are not 60 pounds, but they're telling me they won't take them. And, extremely frustrated as to, why does it say one thing but another thing is happening? And why won't they take all my trash? I thought all our trash was supposed to be taken.
They're saying that you don't have unlimited. They're saying you've got too many cans. Besides too heavy, you've got too many cans.
Okay.
Because they'll have tons of green waste out there.
And again, I don't necessarily think this is coming from your seasoned employees who have been here for years. I think this is coming from, newer employees more so. At least that's the impression that I've been given.
One thing to ask is when you're getting these complaints, are you getting these addresses too as well?
Yeah.
I would like to dig in deep to see which drivers he's coming from. My ask would be, and this is something I'm going to talk to Miguel about, is when you receive those, if you can send those over, instead of just hoarding them.
No,
send them
we
over.
don't. So
Okay.
every single complaint is texted over
Okay.
to the operations supervisor, and
Okay.
a follow-up email is sent as well. And sometimes you guys are CC'd on those, including Adrian.
I would
So-
appreciate, if we can go straight to just email so we can get all eyes on this, because quite frankly, right, if a text goes straight to Miguel, quite frankly, this is the first time I kind of heard about these issues, right? If an email is going out to the overall group, that gives me the, understanding to get involved myself.
Yes.
Myself and Adrian, we do morning huddles with these individuals, the drivers in the mornings. I can come there and address this harder across the board, right? Scavenging, right? First off, not delivering the warm and fuzzies to our customers is a no-go for sure, both of those things. So these are all things I kind of want to address right there in the moment.
Yes.
So if you can send those over
We,
to us,
and,
that'd
and,
be awesome.
and we,
Yeah.
we have. So the internal protocol we've set up is text the operations supervisor immediately so that they're aware of this situation, and then follow up with the email.
Okay.
Because I want to have a paper trail.
Okay.
And so I think you were probably CC'd on a handful of those emails. If you were to go back through the summer, you should be able to find some of them. But if you weren't, Adrian definitely was. And then, let me think if there has been anything else. I think that is primarily the main issues that have all been outlined here today.
And so I do just want to touch, and we got to move on, but I want to just touch very quickly on this thing about the bottles, the plastic bottles. I don't know whether, I've heard both people, I've heard it, that it's the mother truck driver, and I've also heard that it's the individual scout drivers, that they're pulling apart they're going through the bags in the trash, because most of us bag our trash. They're going through the bags, taking the bottles out, and now the trash is spread around from the bags. Now it's not in the bags, and they're leaving some of the trash out of those bags, either on the customer's premise or along the roadside. Some people, I think, may set them in some place and wait for somebody else to come by and pick them up. I mean, I don't know what your policy is about them doing that. I couldn't care less. I thought when I first heard about it that they were doing that at wherever the trash is taken. I didn't realize that they were doing it. I mean, here we've got people not getting service because it's so long between houses and everything, and people are taking time to go through the bags. That doesn't seem very efficient, so. All right. Rotating the staging areas for the mother truck. So as Christian said, George F., which is the Monday, Thursday pickup, it's been over 4 years. I'm not sure exactly how long it's been, but that's how long they've been using George F. And we have the other location for the Tuesday, Friday, that is down on South Portuguese Bend, down in the Slide area. The trucks are there all day, because in the old days, we used to move around. There were 3 or 4 locations, and the trucks would work this area, then they'd go to another staging location, and they'd go to another staging location. That's not happening anymore. So from 8 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock at night, the trucks are sitting there in this one place, and the residents are very upset that that's happening. They feel like they're taking the burden of everybody's trash, 300 houses full of trash, and it's awfully inefficient to only have those two things, because you've got the people driving from, back and forth to the truck. Back in 2008 and 9, when it was it Consolidated? I forget who it was, but one of your previous, still your company, but under a different name, they had identified several locations, and they had asked for several locations. We met with the traffic safety engineer and your people to make sure, you have certain criteria of what you have to have, and then we have the traffic safety engineers to make sure that it's a safe location. And they came down in your packet, they had, Christian, do you remember,
It's,
without my counting,
yeah,
how many it was?
Four locations in Area 1, 5 locations in Area 2,
Here, let me
and
give, it's in the packet.
5 locations in Area 3.
And I just didn't know if it was,
So I guess, right, hearing the dates, my only concern I have there, so 2008, 2007 is, how much has your guys' community grown since then? Has anything realistically changed since then?
not the number of houses hasn't grown that much. What has, a couple of things have happened. When they first did that, you used to have 3 pickups. Now you only have 2. Three days. That was when Wednesday and sometimes Saturday pickup, so they've gone to 2, which have made it even worse. Not a lot more houses have happened. What we do have is increased traffic. If you add the Amazon, UPS, and Postal Service that comes up here, I can't even begin to estimate how much more traffic that is. But, so we have more traffic. But we've stopped using a lot of these places, and my concern is that we need to go back to having multiple locations per day so that it isn't impacting the customers, the residents, for as long a period of time. We as the council and the community have to be able to push back on some of our residents who go, I don't want it there, it's too loud, I don't want it here because it's smelly, I don't want it here because I think it's unsafe. If the traffic safety engineers have said it's safe, I mean, we as the city, I think, have to, within reason, have to be able to say, hey, we don't have that many locations here that we can stage these. We've got curvy streets, 2 lanes, we can't just put it anywhere. Now, my understanding is that you require that it be paved. In the old days, they would go like, they used to pick up behind my house was a staging area. It's a wide easement, and it's a lot of chips, but it's not paved, and they used to do that. And so maybe that's one reason that location went away. I mean, I understand you get it that truck heavy, if it happens to get wet or it can't get stuck in there, I understand that. I don't know if we need to go back to the traffic commission, or even before we do that, ride with you guys and have you take a look at these locations that were approved in 2018 and see what you think. And even there's a couple more places that we might take a look at and see what you think before we even bring it to the traffic commission to have the safety engineer relook at it, because things could have changed.
Yeah, I mean, quite frankly,
Since then.
I would rather ask the drivers. They know the city
Right.
like the back of their hand. And I think they're gonna probably give us the best outlook. There's probably sites that they're itching to utilize that just probably never thought they were able to. So I'd like to kind of take this list, get Miguel on it, have him ask his drivers where the opportunities possibly are. I do love the fact that we could be able to partner with traffic control on this one to kind of see what are the areas they deem fit for use to as well. Because the first situation you had brought up earlier, where these individuals are having to come into oncoming traffic on a very busy street, obviously red flag there for sure.
No. And that was never one of the approved
And they're
locations.
just using the same two over and over, and they know that there's other ones that are approved.
Well, I
'Cause-
don't know that they know that there's other ones
Exactly,
that are
yeah,
approved, but that's the
that's-
only place they go.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, it does smell there. I go by it all the time, and our garbage smells. I get that, and I get that it makes a mess. And we all have to deal with it. It's all of our garbage, and I understand we have stuff we have to do on our side as well at the city in trying to make this palatable for our residents. It's an equestrian community. We've got places where the notes will show that they changed the location where the mother truck was staged from right next to somebody's barn to an area farther away from it for safety reasons for the horses. But you can't, I don't think the city can say, we have trails everywhere, and you can't say, I'm not gonna collect your trash, so. So I would like to see us work together to take a look at these locations. It's probably the first time you've seen that list. Take a look at it, see what we can do. Christian mentioned this, and I don't know what your policy is. If your policy is you ask the drivers where they think it's best, our people that live here are really smart and involved, and a lot of them run their own businesses. We have one, and they can't stand to see something that looks inefficient to them. They want to fix it, you know. Without knowing what your side of the story is, they want to fix it.
We should find them on a right-of-way.
Well,
Right?
but what they're saying is this cannot be efficient to have one truck in one location to service 300 houses. We've got approximately 700 properties here. So that, I can see how that, to a layperson's eye, does not sound right. And she said, you know, we have a logistics company that our business hired that saves us tens of thousands of dollars every year. They have a business that delivers to hundreds of stores, restaurants every day. And they went out and they drove the routes and said, you know, this truck should be going here, this truck should be going here, then you move the mother truck from here to there, you know, whatever. And they even offered that maybe that was something, I said, I'm sure Republic probably has something like that. But if you don't, I'm just throwing that out there, that it might be something that would help you up here. I know we have a very unique situation up here. And she seemed to think that they would give us a really good deal on that. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that. Let's see. So the increased traffic, residents, and back in 2018, we sent a bunch of questions to Ray before he left. That I don't know, and that would also be in your packet, I'm sure. That it was from Monday, September 10th. We asked some questions to Ray so that we could understand better, and he responded to us. And there are questions like, how many areas in the city are divided? What days do you pick up in each area? Do you have a map of the area? How many mother trucks are parked in the city? Because that was another suggestion that came from people said, hey, they need to have more mother. If they had 2 mother trucks a day, again, not trying to tell you how to run your business, just telling you what residents are saying.
Sure.
What would be the ideal number of staging locations in each area? How many locations in each area do you use now? Is the mother truck moved? If the mother truck moves to a different location, do the same drivers pick up in the morning and the afternoon? Anyway, Ray responded to these questions, and they're in the packet. Maybe it's time that we do that again, because the answers may be different. Maybe the questions should be different, but if something like that you would find that helpful, and you could even, if there are things that you want to tell us, you could put some questions and answers in there as well, because we're going to invite you to come and talk in front of our residents at some point. And then this also helps us, both staff and the council, when we're trying to talk to our customers, or your customers, our residents. So give that a thought as well. But the sooner you can get one of those trucks off, that truck off George F., which is your Monday, Thursday route, the better. I got these people saying, you said you were going to talk to him. You said you were going to talk to him.
So it seems like in 2019, they even said kind of George F. is the go-to still.
And so at least since 2019, as you can see there, and Ray says, on George F., yes, only on George F., the mother truck only moves 2 times, because I'm assuming the mother truck leaves once to dump green waste, or, well, in the morning, in the morning run, it's the household waste. So since we don't have, doesn't the green waste go someplace else, or is the green waste go in? Does the green waste go in the same mother truck at the same time with the household waste?
No, it should not.
Yeah, so the truck has to move once, because it's got to go down, and I think I see it going down around lunchtime. I think it goes down the hill with the household waste, and it comes back up, and then they do the green waste collection. So that's the only time it moves. So I think that's what he's saying here when he says that it moves. It's just, that's the only time it's moving. It is not moving to another location. So please look at these lists. Now, David and staff, I need direction from you. If I can convince them to move that George F. truck someplace else, how do I communicate that? Do I have to have a public hearing? Do we write them a letter?
I would just offer, and encourage, please jump in. Council, in essence, has already approved these sites.
Correct.
If they have a willingness to pick one, we can administratively do it, and then we're just, getting the word out so people understand, informing council, and if council has an issue with it, they can direct us otherwise.
Sure.
Yeah, I would say at this time, they already have
Yeah.
these almost 15 locations that they can use because they've been approved by the council.
Right.
Previously.
Right.
If we were to add any locations, based on Republic's recommendations and/or input from the Traffic Commission, that would probably come back to the council to then, add to this list, if you will.
Now, I do want to ask our team, though.
Right.
Like, hey, what is the most efficient area? Because I have a hard time believing for the past 5 years that they would put a pebble in their shoe and choose the most difficult area to service out of. So I do want to ask them, like, hey, is there a reason why George F., like that area, is your guys' bread and butter your go-to? And is there a way to kind of think outside the box here and do something that's a little bit more efficient, right? So that being said, we have our systems, whether it's our route supervisor, our route supervisors can kind of look into it too as well, and our operations and our routing folks can take a look at this too as well. But yeah, I think what we can do is we can take these questions here and we could revamp them, right? Maybe some of the answers do change, maybe some of the answers don't change, but I think we can definitely give you an updated timestamp on those ones.
And so my number one priority is get that truck off George F. And if you can't get it off all day, if you've got if you can add another space, at least get it off in the afternoon, or at least if you've got 3 spaces that you can use, you know, move them around. So that's my number one thing that I'd like to have come out of this, if I could. And then to set up another meeting, and I'm sorry to rush, because I know you have to leave at 4:30, and I just saw my ride going. Let's set another meeting to, before, not, and we're not even talking about the mixed waste facility burn thing. I want to get these service issues wrapped up and the staging locations. Now, I have no problem with doing it via Zoom. David, are you okay?
Yeah, presuming ad hoc committees can do that under, when
Oh,
they
this
change the
is a
rollback?
standing committee, but I don't think there's any reason why we couldn't have an administrative meeting about it without.
Oh, we can't stand in committee Zoom?
Oh, well, let me look into that with.
You're right, I think, because, yeah, it is a standing meeting, and so. It's-
But to speed things up, if you just want to have a meeting, like, say, with one member of the subcommittee and staff, and we just do it on Zoom at any time.
That's fine. Yeah, it doesn't have to be.
You don't need to have to come here.
Also, we don't have to charge it up. We can just do it on Zoom. We can get you guys the answers, anything you guys kind of need. I mean, it's not uncommon with a lot of our other municipalities that we have a standing, I said standing meeting, a monthly Zoom meeting where we kind of go over and we update certain items. I mean, I think that's one of the suggestions I do have coming out of this.
Yeah.
Is I love the fact that Miguel's coming over here and he's having multiple touch points with you guys, or having at least once a week. That's,
asked him for a monthly meeting.
I would probably say if we had a monthly meeting together and he comes over here and checks up once a week for service, that's where we're gonna see the most impact, quite frankly. That's gonna be my suggestion. That's keeping us honest, and situations and conversations like this are way too long. I think I saw you guys before I had my kid,
Right.
And now we can have the conversation a little bit more frequently. So I think that's another takeaway we can probably suggest or write into here is a monthly touch point via Teams or Zoom or whatever have you.
And so and when you get back to us, or we'll set up this meeting to let us know what other location, if you're gonna come out and drive around, or if you want us to go with you, whatever, we'll work that out. But we need to do that. That needs to be a takeaway from this meeting, that we come back with a commitment on that. And then the very last thing I have, I assume nothing from staff, right? Because we kind of already talked from staff. October 30th through November 10th, they're going to be paving Portuguese Bend Road. Has anybody told you guys that?
Yes.
Okay. That's
Well,
all I
we
needed to
had
know.
that conversation with Felipe, and
Right.
we'll have that conversation again with Miguel.
Okay, because they're not allowing any trucks on Portuguese Bend Road during that period of time. And one
so
lane is
to be-
closed.
To be specific, the mother truck
Yeah.
will not be allowed to be on there, so it'll have to gain entry through the Crest Road
Okay.
gate.
As long as Miguel, right, he's the one that kind of controls the truck, as long as he's understanding about that. I'll double check with him as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that somebody at Republic Services
Yes,
knew about it.
We actually had a meeting with the Community Association and Felipe at that time.
You guys are so good. Okay, so, anything else from anybody? Okay, I would like to adjourn the meeting to the next meeting to be determined in the city council chambers, and we'll coordinate on that and get a date. And sooner rather than later, because I know it's difficult for everybody, but,
Formal committee meeting or just our follow-up administrative?
our follow-up
Administ- okay.
administrative, and then after the follow-up administrative, we can actually set the date for a meeting.
Okay.
Does that sound right? Because then we'll know what we need to do after we have the administrative one. Does that sound right? Okay. Thank you for coming out. I really appreciate it. Sorry to rush.